Hey, good morning. I just wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about growth, movement, right? Um, what is water if it stops moving? If you think about a river or a creek or something like that. If you think about the Dead Sea is called the Dead Sea because nothing really lives there that I'm aware of. I've never been to the Dead Sea, but I am told that very little lives in the Dead Sea because the outlet, however much water leaves this body of water, the Dead Sea, it's not enough to drain out all the minerals. It's very, very salty. There's actually processing facilities there at the Dead Sea in Israel that actually um, pull salt from the water. And they actually, I guess they purify it and they sell it, right? Like you get some table salt or whatever, or I guess it would be sea salt from the Dead Sea. But anyways, there there's so much salt in the Dead Sea you can actually make a profit off of the salt, which I think is interesting. But it's because the water has no outlet; it doesn't move. It doesn't come in and then flow back out the other side, right? I remember when I was in the Marine Corps when I was in a recon platoon, and I remember we at the end of a very very long day of our screening, like to get into this platoon, we had to hump. So I can't remember exactly how far it was. It seemed like it was forever, several miles, with a 35-pound pack, which doesn't seem very heavy, but at the end of a very long day, it feels like it's about 1,000,000 pounds. But at the end of this, or towards the end of this hump, we had to low crawl through these Amtrak trails, right? And the Amtrak trails were kind of dug out. So, because Amtrak's, they have these treads and they'll dig out and kind of displace mud, but water will settle in. And there's nowhere for the water to go out. So it's really just muddy and stinky and stagnant and gross, right? Water comes in, but it can't escape these puddles. And it's just really, really stinky and gross. So stagnation causes um, it causes death, right? Causes things to just decay. So what I'm talking about here today a little bit is just I'm still in this the book of Hebrews, and um, I'm in this little passage, Hebrews 5:11 through 14. It says, "Concerning him we have much to say. It's hard to explain, since you become dull of hearing. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you have need again for someone to teach you the elementary principles of the oracles of God, and you have come to need milk and not solid food. For everyone who partakes only of milk is not accustomed to the word of righteousness, for he is an infant. But solid food is for the mature, who, because of practice, have their senses trained to discern good and evil." Right? So you've got this sort of you got this person here that's described as immature, right? As a baby, as an infant, and the imagery is, of course, we don't feed infants solid food. You don't give them a piece of steak and that's what they eat, right? They have this liquid diet. Sometimes adults end up on liquid diets after they get their wisdom teeth removed, which I also found out in Marine Corps boot camp, which was just terrible. But I digress. So, what I'm talking about here is the writer of Hebrews is talking about these folks who are returning to elementary principles, or actually never go beyond elementary principles of faith, right? They never go beyond the basic uh, facts, the basic set of knowledge that they learn, and they stay there for whatever reason. When we talk about the elementary principles, it really is talking about the very basic building blocks of learning. So the word there in Greek is stoichion, and it's talking literally like about learning the alphabet, right? Hebrews is accusing mature Christians of staying on lessons covering how to spell words rather than how to use words. This is kindergarten level learning. He's telling them that they haven't even learned words and how to use them and string them together in a sentence because they're still studying letters and sounds to keep rehashing old lessons over and over and over again, and they never move any deeper into truth, into faith, right? There's no challenge. Okay? They just can't progress in faith because they aren't grasping the basics. I remember back to kindergarten when I was learning my own alphabet. I mean, I remember, it's funny how the things that you do remember from your childhood. I actually had already learned to read by the time I went to kindergarten. My sister Kathy taught me how to read. She was 2 years ahead of me in school, and she would come home from kindergarten with these little cards, right? I don't know if you remember the alphabet people, but I thought the alphabet people were freaking awesome, particularly Mr. M. Okay, Mr. M was my favorite because the song for Mr. M was just kind of this sort of funky rock beat, little had kind of a little rap sort of tempo to the lyrics, and I just thought, man, that is so cool, man. I was like my first uh, uh, impression of rock music. I think that's where my love of heavy metal and Metallica, starts with an M too, right? Where it came from. So my sister, she was pretty eager to teach me what she had learned. So she'd come home and every day, right, I'm like, you get a new card, you get a new card, you get a new card. And she'd bring them home, and she'd bring stuff home, and she'd bring books home from the library, and she would read them to me, and we read together, and she taught me how to read. My mom read to me a lot, so lots and lots of reading for me, lots of exposure. It was a very rich environment for me to learn. When my sister went to school and my mom read Grimm's fairy tales to us every night, which was kind of scary, but it's okay. That's where my warped sense of humor came from. So when I was in kindergarten, I would go and we would have these lessons, right? And I already kind of knew what they were, but I thought it was really cool that I was in the environment where my sister had learned, because it's the same teacher, very small town. So, you're learning about the M. Well, what does M look like? What does M say? Right? What words start with M? And in the song, it's munch and mouth. Mr. M with the munchy mouth, I munch, 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 whatever, right? So imagine, as a grown adult, I'm sitting here reviewing cards of the letter people. And now I confess that I have looked up the Mr. M song on YouTube and sat there and listened to it. And I'm like, that's pretty funky. That's all right. Yeah. But I'm not sitting there learning it. I'm just kind of being nostalgic, right? I've gone back to it, but just because that was something from my childhood, I'm not sitting there, let's learn about M again, right? What would the point of that be? What would be the point of what does M say? Oh, look at all the words that start with M, right? Shouldn't I be learning about mathematics? Shouldn't I be leaning into some things? Shouldn't I be learning how to use? Not even learning words that start with M, right? Unless it's just words like big scientific words that I've never learned before, or learning M words in a different language, like Greek or Hebrew, right? So at the time of this teaching, I teach mathematics to seventh grade students, right? So I went from learning the letter M, I learned how to spell the word math, I learned some math, and now I'm teaching math, right? So there's a progression, right? I'm using the letter M with all of this. So I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, wow, Wilde is so clever with this. I totally get it with the whole M thing. So anyways, whatever. If that's you, you're welcome, okay? So, but this is how life should go. We should progress. I should move beyond elementary lessons to a point where I'm teaching other people. Just think about your life right now. Is it kind of stagnant? Are things kind of not moving in your life? I'm saying a lot. Sorry about that. But I'm just kind of processing out loud here. I am in a place where I've sort of started trying to balance out some things. I've started trying to read some different books. Now, I don't really read as much as I download and purchase books on tape. I'm reading Pursuit of God by A.W. Tozer now, which is actually pretty cool. You can rewind it and listen to different parts of it all over again, which is pretty cool. I like that. but trying to grow myself academically, doing some Bible study, growing spiritually. I've gotten back in the gym since COVID has sort of released us to actually exercise again, and I'm starting to grow physically a little bit now. You know what I'm saying? Just as far as strength and fitness. Yeah, I've taken up just studying a little bit of kickboxing, Muay Thai here at home. So martially, I'm growing martially. So I've kind of got not really a renaissance. I wouldn't really call it what's the term, a midlife crisis or anything like that. I'm not really going through something like that, but I just found myself in a place where I thought I want to balance myself out a little bit. I want to grow. I want to move forward. I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to not learn some new things. So I want to encourage you to just kind of take stock of that, right? It is never, ever too late to start growing in some ways. It's never too late to start experiencing new things. It's never too late to look at your wife and say, hey, let's go to a new restaurant, or hey, let's go this weekend to a new place, or hey, let's do this Bible study together, and let's talk about it. So grow in your marriage, right? All of these things at the end of the day really grow my relationship to the Lord and my relationship to my wife. And that's part of what they're there for. So I don't know. Think about it. I guess that's all this is for. So love you guys. Hope that is encouraging to you. Don't stay at the basics, right? Figure out a place where you can move forward a little bit in your faith. Find a podcast. Find somebody on YouTube or Rumble. I watch a lot of videos and I catch some news, but I listen to some podcasts and stuff that help me stay abreast of current affairs, and try to listen to a few thinkers every now and then. I try to connect with friends. I've started actually connecting with some friends here as of late, out in the world, having lunch with some other guys, right? Which is really, really, it's just good for me, right? To develop those good, solid, manly male bonds, or whatever you want to call it. So anyways, love you guys. Hope all is well with you, and I'll talk to you soon.